Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie, and today we are on day 334. Welcome to the channel. I am so happy that you're here today. We are going to be reading out of 2 Chronicles chapters 3 through 5, Micah chapter 5, and then we're going to close out our day with John chapter 4, verses 1 through 26. So I know 2 Chronicles, 2 chapters in one day, that sounds a little bit long to me, but I have a feeling it's going to be okay. So let's go ahead and get started. 2 Chronicles chapters 3 through 5. Sometimes when things are scary, you just got to jump in and see what is the reason for this. Here we go. Then Solomon began to build Yahweh's house at Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where Yahweh appeared to David his father, which he prepared in the place that David had appointed, on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. He began to build in the 2nd day of the 2nd month, in the 4th year of his reign. Now these are the foundations which Solomon laid for the building of God's house. The length by cubits after the first measure was 60 cubits, and the width 20 cubits. The porch was in front. Its length across the width of the house was 20 cubits, and the height 120, and he overlaid it with pure gold. He made the longer room with a ceiling of cypress wood, which he overlaid with fine gold, and ornamented it with palm trees and chains. He decorated the house with precious stones for beauty. The gold was gold from Parvim. He also overlaid the house, the beams, the thresholds, its walls, and its doors with gold, and engraved cherubim on the walls. He made the most holy place. Its length, according to the width of the house, was 20 cubits, and its width 20 cubits, and he overlaid it with fine gold, amounting to 600 talents. The weight of the nails was 50 shekels of gold. He overlaid the upper rooms with gold. In the most holy place, he made 2 cherubim by carving, and they overlaid them with gold. The wings of the cherubim were 20 cubits long. The wing of the one was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, reaching to the wing of the other cherub. The wing of the other cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, joining to the wing of the other cherub. The wings of these cherubim spread themselves out 20 cubits. They stood on their feet, and their faces were toward the house. He made the veil of blue, purple, crimson, and fine linen, and ornamented it with cherubim. Also he made before the house 2 pillars 35 cubits high, and the capital that was on the top of each of them was 5 cubits. He made chains in the inner sanctuary and put them on the tops of the pillars, and he made 100 pomegranates and put them on the chains. He set up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand and the other on the left, and called the name of that on the right hand Jachin, and the name on that on the left Boaz. Chapter 4. Then he made an altar of bronze, 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high. Also, he made the molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim. It was round, 5 cubits high, and 30 cubits in circumference. Under it was the likeness of oxen, which encircled it for 10 cubits, encircling the sea. The oxen were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, 3 looking toward the west, 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking towards the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their hindquarters were inward. It was a hand's breadth thick. Its brim was made like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It received and held 3,000 baths. He also made 10 basins and put 5 on the right hand and 5 on the left to wash in them. The things that belonged to the burnt offering were washed in them, but the sea was for the priests to wash in. He made the 10 lampstands of gold according to the ordinance concerning them, and he set them in the temple, 5 on the right hand and 5 on the left. He made also 10 tables, and placed them in the temple, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. He made 100 basins of gold. Furthermore, he made the court of the priests, the great court, the doors for the court, and overlaid their doors with bronze. He set the sea on the right side of the house eastward, toward the south. Hiram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished doing the work that he did for King Solomon in God's house, the 2 pillars, the bowls, the 2 capitals which were on top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars. He also made the basins, and he made the basins on the bases, 1 sea and the 12 oxen under it. Hiram-Abi also made the pots, the shovels, the forks, and all its vessels for King Solomon, for Yahweh's house of bright bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zerada. Thus Solomon made all these vessels in great abundance, so that the weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all the vessels that were in God's house, the golden altar, the tables with the showbread on them, and the lampstands with their lamps to burn according to the ordinances before the inner sanctuary of pure gold, and the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold that was purest gold, and the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold. As for the entry of the house, its inner doors for the most holy place and the doors of the main hall of the temple were gold. Chapter 5. We're doing it. Thus, all the work that Solomon did for Yahweh's house was finished. Solomon brought in the things that David his father had dedicated, even the silver, the gold, and all the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of God's house. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' households of the children of Israel, to Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of Yahweh's covenant out of David's city, which is Zion. So all the men of Israel assembled themselves to the king at the feast, which was in the 7th month. All the elders of Israel came. The Levites took up the ark. They brought up the ark, the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. The Levitical priests brought these up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel who were assembled to him were before the ark, sacrificing sheep and cattle that could not be counted or numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of Yahweh's covenant to its place into the inner sanctuary of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its poles above. The poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the ark in front of the inner sanctuary, but they were not seen outside, and it is there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets which Moses put there at Horeb, when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt. When the priests had come out of the holy place, for all the priests who were present had sanctified themselves and didn't keep their divisions, also the Levites, who were the singers, all of them, even Asaph, Heman, Jeduthun, and their sons and their brothers, arrayed in fine linen with cymbals and stringed instruments and harps, stood at the east end of the altar. With them 120 priests surrounding with trumpets. When the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Yahweh, and when they lifted up their voice with all the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praised Yahweh, saying, "For he is good, for his loving kindness endures forever." Then the house was filled with a cloud, even Yahweh's house, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for Yahweh's glory filled God's house. Wow. Oh, wow. I have no words, which is rare. All right, Micah chapter 5. My goodness. Oh. Now you shall gather yourself in troops, daughter of troops. He has laid siege against us. They will strike the judge of Israel with a rod on the cheek. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, being small among the clans of Judah, out of you one will come out to me, who is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings out are from of old, from ancient times. And therefore he will abandon them until the time that she who is one, Therefore, this is verse 3. Therefore he will abandon them until the time that she who is in labor gives birth. Then the rest of his brothers will return to the children of Israel. He shall stand and shall shepherd in the strength of Yahweh, in the majesty of the name of Yahweh his God. They will live, for then he will be great to the ends of the earth. He will be our peace when Assyria invades our land, and when he marches through our fortresses. Then he will raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 leaders of men. They will rule the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in its gates. He will deliver us from the Assyrian when he invades our land, and when he marches within our border. The remnant of Jacob will be among many peoples, like dew from Yahweh, like showers on the grass, that don't wait for man, nor wait for the sons of men. The remnant of Jacob will be among the nations, among many peoples, like a lion among the animals of the forest, like a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he goes through, treads down and tears in pieces, and there is no one to deliver. Let your hand be lifted up above your adversaries, and let all your enemies be cut off. It will happen in that day, says Yahweh, that I will cut off your horses from among you, and will destroy your chariots. I will cut off the cities of your land, and will tear down all your strongholds. I will destroy witchcraft from your hand. You shall have no soothsayers. I will cut off your engraved images and your pillars from among you, and you shall no more worship the work of your hands. I will uproot your Asherah poles from among you, and I will destroy your cities. I will execute vengeance in anger and wrath on the nations that don't listen. As I was reading, I just kind of thought, what is the what's the word? When God decides to act, he's saying, I will cut off. It will happen in that day. I will uproot. I will execute vengeance. So what is, I suppose, the catalyst that, God has us in his mind, and okay, now I'm going to act. Now I'm going to do all these things. I'm just curious because, he could very well just do it now. Instead of us muddling through all this nonsense. Whatever. Okay, John chapter 4. It is not up to me. I just keep saying, it is not up to me. It is not up to me. Don't be bossy with God. Natalie is saying that to Natalie. All right, here we go. John chapter 4, verses 1 through 26. Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing and more disciples, I'm going to start that over, sorry. Chapter 4, verse 1. Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although Jesus himself didn't baptize but his disciples, he left Judea and departed into Galilee. He needed to pass through Samaria. So he came to a city of Samaria called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being tired from his journey, sat down by the well, and it was about the 6th hour. A woman of Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman therefore said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it is who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. So where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as did his children and his livestock?" And Jesus answered her, "Everyone who drinks of this well will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never thirst again. But the water that I will give him will become in him a well of water springing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I don't get thirsty, neither come all the way here to draw." And Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come here." And the woman answered, "I have no husband." And Jesus said to her, "You said well, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and he whom you now have is not your husband. This you have said truly." And the woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the only place where people ought to worship." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. You worship that which you don't know. We worship that which we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour comes, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such to be his worshipers. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. The woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he has come, he will declare to us all things. And Jesus said to her, I am he, the one who speaks to you. So in verse 25, when the woman says to him, I know that Messiah is coming. Messiah in Hebrew and Christ, Greek, both of them mean anointed one. The woman said to him, I know that the anointed one is coming, he who is called Christ. Oh, wow. This day was a little overwhelming for me. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I am truly so glad that you're here. Come on back for tomorrow, which will be day 335. I'm doing my very best to make sure that we are still on format, still on time, still on task to deliver these readings every day. So please come on by again for tomorrow for day 335. And would you like to see my view out the window today on my vacation? Look at this, folks. Look at that. Look at that. We have snow. Thanks, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.